Hey, y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, fall is here, so I don't know how many more we could be doing out on the deck. It's getting a little chilly. But anyway, Churchill Downs has a nice pick five sequence late on Saturday, and it does include three stakes races, including the Lukas Classic. So I think it's worth taking a look at. So let's do that. So we're looking at the Churchill Downs Pick 5 for Saturday, September 30th, and it comprises races 7 through 11, and it's bookended by a couple of non-graded, non-stakes events, but three stakes in the middle. The first leg is the seventh race. It's an optional claimer for 80,000, non-winners of 2 or 3 lifetime, and it's run at 6.5 furlongs, 3-year-olds and up fillies and mares. And if we look, we'll see how we break it down by the columns, E, E, P, P, and S. Most of you know what those are. The front runners, I don't see a lot of speed in this race, and I think it's going to be coming from horses just off the pace. Megan's Clara is probably the most likely to win this. She's coming to this race in good form. Trained by Brad Cox, looks real obvious to win here. A couple of horses that may perhaps give a little bit of a run. You're So Silly and Cantex are in decent form. I just kind of like Megan's Clara a little better. And then Altered Shot because this one's just a hard knocker, wins a lot. And I don't know that the form is coming into this race the greatest, but I think that this one can likely get into the money. Because she certainly loves to do that. But I think Megan's Clara is the one to beat here. Leg 2 is race 8, and it's the Jefferson Cup. It's an ungraded stakes for 200K, running a mile on the turf for 3-year-olds only. And I thought all the 3-year-old races were over, but apparently not. This must be the last one. I'm hoping. If you look on paper, there are no guaranteed front runners in this race. Nobody listed as an E. However, I think it's a pretty good bet that Worthington is going to be sent from the get-go. He really hasn't had terribly good form, and I think it's the last time that's what they did, and I think they're going to do more of the same here. Just send him and see if he can hang on. I don't think it's likely. So the other contender for the lead would be Smoky Mandate, who ran a really nice race, I thought, last time. And didn't quite finish it off, but showed good form, and a move forward from there would put him would give him a chance in here. It's going to be difficult. There are a lot of good late runners, but I think Smoky Mandate belongs in here, and who knows? Could very well wire it if the circumstances dictate. Desert Duke is one that they tried to run on the front end for quite a bit of his career, and it really didn't work out. But last time they took him back, and it seemed to pay dividends because he ran a pretty good race in his last, and I thought he was closing well. He was no match for Carl Spackler, but then again, who is? But he kept on well, and he showed a good kick. And I think that he, with a price, I think he belongs in this race. Again, it's devoid of speed, so if he can get up maybe a little bit closer, he may have the jump on some of the late runners. Ocean Point is one that's coming into the race pretty well. Drew off in the last race, but I think this is a really big step up in class. Is a late runner. It's more than likely that this one could get under, but I don't see as a realistic win candidate. More Than Looks is Cherie DeVoe's charge. Cherie DeVoe just had an awesome year, and More Than Looks is one that's really shown some good form, and I think just is the class of this field and is a logical win candidate. Will be coming late, and I think has every chance to win this race. Ocean Vision is one that since coming over from overseas had a pretty good effort in the initial try in the States, and I think is poised to run better than that. Had a little bit of trouble in the last race, and if not for it, probably would have done even better. And I think that this one is you may get a price, and I think this is kind of a sneaky good one that you absolutely have to consider. Leg 3 is the ninth race, and it's the ACAC. It's a grade 3 at a mile for 3-year-olds and up. And as we always have to note at Churchill, it is a one-turn mile. And that's really important because some of the horses in here are a little more effective around 2 turns, namely Stage Raider, who does fit class-wise, but isn't quite as good around 1 turn as he is around 2. And I think that's going to make it a little difficult considering that this race, there's some good class fits here. Not a lot of horses to throw out. So I think those are the kind of things that will separate. And for that reason, Stage Raider I'm not going to use. But Zozos, I think, is the logical winner. Now, as we know from the 3-year-old campaign, he can get on the lead if necessary. And I think he'll probably do that here. And if that's the case, I think he'll have a really big advantage. He's coming into the race in good form. Really no reason to overlook him. And I think he probably will go gate to wire in this race. Skyro is coming off a long layoff. This one would certainly be a fit here and has run some really nice races. But I just kind of got a feeling that he's not going to be totally up to snuff in this race, and so I kind of like Zozos a little better. But I think he's going to, will probably do enough to factor. Obesos probably better at shorter distances. That's really the only issue I have. But I think Obesos is one that belongs in here, and you're probably going to get a decent price. And I think we'll probably run a pretty good race. The lone closer in this race is 3 Technique, kind of up against it here, I think. I don't know how much pace there's going to be to run to, but this horse has really had a pretty good year, and I think the 1-turn mile is a really good fit for him, and he'll be flying late. We'll just have to see if he's enough. There are, a lot of horses who have very similar styles, so there is the possibility that they'll be pushing Zozos really hard, and you may have some kind of a meltdown scenario, so I don't think you want to exclude 3 Technique. Leg 4 is the 10th race. It's the Lukas Classic. It's a grade 2 running a 1.8 for 3-year-olds and up. And this is a very interesting race. I think it's pretty classy and it's pretty deep. 5-Star General is there again. This is another race where there are no true front runners listed, but 5-Star General did in his last one, and I think they're going to send again. I'm not expecting this one to factor in this race, but I think they'll probably send him, so he'll be likely to be the one they're all chasing. From the EP list, Trademark is a horse for the course, and he seems to run better later in the year. And there are horses that do that. There's just certain times a year where they're a little better than they are in others. And this is a track that he clearly favors. So we're going to definitely use Trademark. Wayland Springs I really liked last week at Churchill Downs, but he scratched out to run in this field. And you have to wonder if perhaps Brad Cox was thinking this is a better scenario for him. He's coming into the race in perfect form. Class rating is rising as the race level is. And he's coming in fresh. I think Wayland Springs makes a lot of sense here. Clapton has proven that he can run somewhere other than Gulfstream in his last couple. He's done pretty darn well. And an interesting stat for Chad Summers, who now trains him. Chad Summers is 31% second time with a horse. So I think we can expect improvement here from Clapton. The problem is that I'm not sure that there's going to be a whole lot of pace to run to, but if under the right circumstances, he may get the jump on like Rattle and Roll and Happy American, some of the later runners, and that maybe gives him a shot. But I think underneath is more likely. That seems to be what he's been doing lately. I'm just not sure he's good enough to win this. Americanrevolution, of course, is the wild card in this race, and that last one at Saratoga after the long layoff was not pretty. He stumbled at the break, did try to make a race out of it, and that's what I like to see. But he flattened out, understandably. It was a pretty good field, and but I think it would, second off the layoff with Todd Pletcher, I'm fairly certain this one will run a good race. And of course, if he does run the way he's capable, this race is over. He's a logical favorite. He's clearly, he stacks up a lot of different ways as the best horse in this race. Just have that little inkling of maybe after the long layoff, he's not quite what he used to be, but I think he certainly fits here, and you absolutely have to use him. Rattle and Roll is a horse for the course, and he's just a model of consistency. He just runs his race every single time. I'm just not sure. First of all, he's not going to have pace to run to, I don't think. And then secondly, I'm not sure if it's good enough in a lot of ways, particularly when you consider American Revolution and Wayland Springs, and both of which, Wayland Springs, if he runs another big race, he would have the jump and have the advantage. And then American Revolution, if he comes back to form, I think this race is over. And then you've got Trademark, who's a horse for the course, and at this time of year tends to be pretty good. So I'm not sure. There's a lot of things to me working against Rattle and Roll. However, you can't deny the talent there, and I think you certainly have to use. And I'll just make a note about Happy American. He was running extremely well and extremely consistently all year, but he seems to have tapered off a little bit, and he certainly needs pace to run to. And I'm really not interested in using him other than under in the exotics. I don't think he's a logical win candidate here. The final leg of the Pick 5 is the 11th race, and it's a maiden special weight for 120,000, run at a mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And you might note right off the bat that there are we're not going to be using anybody from the E column, and there really isn't a whole lot of pace in this race. Missionaire, I think, will probably be the one on the engine. Orby 1 tends to give it up in every race, but Missionaire looks like has a little bit more of an upside, and I got a feeling that he'll try to get up there and slow it down, but I don't really like his chances to be there at the end. We got a spread in this race, being a maiden in particular. Given to Fly is really the only first-time starter of the two that I think has some merit. It's Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone. Brendan Walsh looks like he's cooling off a bit from the torrid streak he had for about 5 months there. Given to Fly is there's nothing necessarily to indicate that this one's going to be terribly precocious, first off, except his last work was pretty impressive. It was a 9 out of, I think, 104. But it was a big work, and I think it showed some ability. So we'll throw him in there, and you're likely to get some decent value. Athens Moon and Elegant Trip in particular from the EP column look like they're poised to move forward. Not sure it's going to be enough, but I think they're worthy contenders in here. Brigade Commander, Dallas Stewart is ice cold at the meet so far, as well as Adam Biscuitza, his jockey. So that's not good connections coming in. But this one ran a pretty good race and was game heading into the stretch in the last one. And is coming in second off the layoff. Has a chance to run a solid race, but seems to just never have quite enough, and that's sort of the issue I have with him. But I think under is probably more likely. But again, in this race, I think we definitely need to spread. So he's one that we'll throw in the mix. Metallurgic, I like quite a bit, and the reason being is at Kentucky Downs in his last race, the pace was absolutely torrid. I think it was 44 and change at the half, and that's just smoking for a turf race. And he rated off of it and was able to hang in there and got up for third late, and he was a little one-paced in the race, but the point is that he was able to withstand a hot pace up front and still hang in there. And so I think that speaks to him moving forward in this race. And if you're going to look for something, I think that it is Kentucky Downs. That's we always, as we say, what happens in Kentucky Downs stays in Kentucky Downs. But I think with the undulations and whatnot, I think the fact that he was able to run that race maybe gives him a little bit of an edge here. So I like Metallurgic, and hopefully you get a decent price. Royal Sandrine looks to be moving ahead and has every indication that he's got another race in him. So I think Royal Sandrine makes a lot of sense here. But I don't think there's anybody who's got a real. I mean, Metallurgic I like, but I'm not sure it's cast in stone here. I think with the maiden in particular, especially in these sequences, as we know from last week at Parks, when the 60-1 shot came in and killed our pick 5. We probably want to have a lot of options here. So our ticket for the pick 5 looks like this. Leg 1, race 7. We're going to single Megan's Clara. Norm Cassie and Ricardo Santana are lights out together. I think they're hitting at 58% and is the best horse in the race. And we're going to need options in the other races, so we'll single there. And hopefully we get through that leg, then we've got a shot. Leg 2, race 8, we're going to use 6, 7, 8, and 9. Leg 3, race 9, we're going to use 3 and 5. And leg 4, race 10, the Lukas Classic. Want to hedge against American Revolution not firing and not being at the caliber he once was. So we're going to hedge a little bit and go 4, 5, 7, and 9. And then finally in the maiden, this is a spread race for sure. We're going to use 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. And we didn't mention the also eligibles. I'll go over them really quickly for you. Provisional, the trainer has a good record, second start and first route, and showed a little precocity early on in the maiden effort. And so that usually indicates that there's some skill there, just needed a race under him. So we're going to include Auden is Bill Mott, Juddmonte International. Got squeezed at the start of Kentucky Downs and had some trouble. Had to run wide most of the way around, but yet kept on. So I think with a better trip, this one definitely could factor. And then Pilkington, 16. It's Diodoro and Christian Torres, great jockey-trainer combination, and this one's getting Lasix for the first time, and that might elevate into being a solid contender in the race. So I'll leave it up to you to mix and match depending upon the scratches, but we got killed last time with an also eligible, so I think we definitely want to account for that. So that's 1 by 4 by 2 by 4 by 6. That's a $192 ticket. That's a $192, $96 ticket on a 50-cent base. So that's the pick 5 sequence. I think it's a pretty tough one. There's a couple races there that we definitely need to spread a bit. If we can get through that single in the first race, I think we got a shot. We certainly got plenty of options in the last race, and hopefully we won't need him as much as we did last time. But anyway, it's a pretty good sequence, and I hope our analysis, of course, helps you with your own wagering strategy. And I wish you the best of luck as always. If you do like content like this, please like and subscribe, and we do thank you for coming aboard. We've got plenty left in the thoroughbred racing season, and we'll be covering all of it. So be on the lookout for more postings. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.